Hi, this is DJ Tina, host of HMTV Canada E-Zine. On the phone with me today is Razor, frontman and lead vocalist of the band Metal Knights. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm very, very pleased to be talking with you, Tina.
I hear you have an exciting event coming up August 30th at the Metal Masters Tour with Judas Priest and Heaven and Hell. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that one there, we're just guests and we're going to the show. We're not performing. We're just there as guests to witness that great festival. But we do have some really good news that's coming that we'll be able to release very shortly, hopefully, about a festival that we will be performing at with one of the major acts in Florida early next year. So we're quite excited about, being able to go see that show and then meet with everybody there and look forward to what's probably going to be the biggest performance that we'll be doing within this next year in this coming January.
Sounds exciting. Have you settled in your new castle at Studio 949?
Yeah, we've gotten everything moved over there. Of course, the studio itself had already been built out, was a recording studio that we had been using for over a year to record at. And it was a very friendly environment for us. We enjoyed working there very much. And the opportunity arose where we were able to buy the gentleman out who owned it. He wanted to get out. He was moved on to a very, very good paying job somewhere else and just had no more time for the studio. And we hated to see it just go away. Mm-hmm. So since I have a video production company and a visual effects company put together, I decided it would be a great opportunity to merge both entities under that roof and then also acquire that recording studio and have everything in one location. Business-wise, it made sense to me. But on top of that, it was just really killer for the band, Metal Knights, because now we had our own home base to really do whatever we want, record, rehearse, do videos, whatever it is, we can do it at that location. So, yeah, on several different levels, it was just like the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Very busy, I can see that.
Oh, yeah, trying to run the studio itself is just, it's a quite popular studio to start with. It had a built-in client base that's very loyal, and we're booked just about every night of the week with bands either rehearsing or recording. So, it's a business first and foremost, of course, but for Metal Knights, it's been just this great little haven that we can concentrate, work on songwriting, rehearsing, and recording. So it's just been another blessing that's come our way.
That's a great deal. Got a lot of good things going when you got that studio.
Yeah, I think so.
Can you tell us about your latest CD, The Crossing?
Well, that is actually an EP, and it's these songs that I decided to write with Craig Goldie from Dio. Craig and I are very close friends, and he came to a benefit concert that we had done in July of 2007, and I invited him to come jam with us at the end of the night. And he said, of course, said absolutely, but he had never really seen us before or heard us.
Oh, I see.
And he came to that show, and we did our set. And then at the end of the night, I came off stage, and he was the first one to run up to me and hug me and basically say, my God, you rocked so hard. He said, and plus I had to have oral surgery that day.
Oh,
so it was really, I was in a lot of pain. I don't even know how I got on stage to sing. And that's kind of what blew him away, was that it was just, this guy just, had oral surgery, and now he's on stage at the same night singing. And I could barely talk before I walked on stage. I mean, I was all Novocained up and everything, and slobbering, and it was just, it's something that just happened, and it was bad timing that day. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, when showtime came, I started to feel a story to tell, and Craig wanted to help me tell it, so that's how we kind of forged our alliance to become songwriting partners.
You met Craig at the Tribute for Ton Mastery show?
Yes, that's correct.
Where is that located?
That took place in Huntington Beach, California, at a place called Martini Blues. It was a sold-out event, and there was a lot of big names there. It was a great turnout. We couldn't, like I said, it was sold out. We couldn't have asked for a better time. There was some very, very big names showed up. Not just Craig, but Simon Wright from Dio, and Tony Montana from Great White, and Terry Elias from XYZ, and there were several others. The famous rock publisher Lon Friend showed up. I mean, just people from all over the place started showing up to this show, and KNAC.com was behind it. They were helping sponsor it. Diana DeVille, who is a DJ there on the air, she came down and hosted the evening, and it just turned out it was a great gig. I mean, we raised a lot of money for Ton. Unfortunately, as everybody knows, Ton didn't make it, and she passed away October 2nd of 2007. But back in July, there was a lot of hope that we were going to be able to raise enough money to help her, get a transplant.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But some good things came out of that. And Ton and I had been friends from back like in 1993 when I worked in radio, and she was the kindest person I ever met in the world of radio, in that the station I was on, one of the stations I was on in the end of my radio career, she helped me so much when I needed to get interviews with some big named rock people. She's the one that all I had to do was make a phone call and she'd set it up. And so she was always there to help me back then. And then, all these years later go by, and things happen to me, and I go through struggles with life and death, and then, it turns out she's going through the same thing. It was just kind of weird how it all came full circle, and I think it happened for a real reason. And out of all of that, I've become incredibly close with members of her family. Her loving sister Kara and I are very good friends, and there's a lot of things happening. Ton's dying wish was that, her musical friends, and everybody was her friend in the hard rock and heavy metal industry, because they had flowed through her doors and been on her station, or had been interviewed by her, that her musical friends got together and did something to help spread the awareness of people getting tested for hepatitis C, so they didn't end up like she did. And that was her dying wish, and her sister Kara is trying to make that happen now, and is making it happen. And I'm right there, 110%. Any way I can help Kara accomplish her goals, and there's several other big names, that are on this thing that just blow me away. How many great big named rock and roll people are coming out from the hard rock community to help out with the Ton Mastery Foundation now, and a compilation CD that's to come.
I noticed that in your lyrics, they're filled with strong stories of struggle, strength, and victory. And have these stories been based on any of your past struggles, along with your friends?
Yeah, almost all of them on the crossing are. In 1990, I guess it was 1984, I was in a head-on car collision and rushed to the hospital, and I was all, messed up, and they had to give me blood transfusions. Well, in 1984, they didn't test the blood supply like they do now, and I contracted hepatitis C through that blood transfusions. And I didn't know it. Nobody knew it for another 11 years. It wasn't until 1995, when I went in for a routine physical, that it showed up that I had it. And I had felt fine up until that time. And when I found out that I had it, I still wasn't that worried, because had never heard of it. Nobody really had. It was brand new. And then I figured they just give you a shot for it, and that's it. You get better. But it wasn't the case in my case. Mine was what was called chronic hepatitis C, which meant that it was either death or transplant. Those were my two options. And I wasn't going to go down without a fight, so I sought out the best doctors I could at UCLA here in California. And, of course, they're some of the pioneers in the liver transplant field. And luckily I hooked up with probably the best doctor there. 10 long years went by from 1995 to 2005. And I was very, very ill for a lot of those years, and in and out of the hospital. And in 2005, April 23rd, I received my transplant. And since that day, my life has just come back so much more fuller and greater that and then to have it happen to Tawn, one of my close friends, it was like, I totally knew what she was going through because I had been through it. And so a lot of all the lyrics really on those songs have something to do with what I went through during those 10 years of finding out I had the problem, dealing with it, and what I went through, and then coming back struggling, succeeding afterwards, and also giving thanks to the person that donated the organ to me. Those were all things that were, there was just this powerful story inside me that I had to tell, and I wanted to do it musically. And Craig Goldie, he really picked up on that. He knew that after he heard the story. And, other people like Rudy Sarzo and Pamela Moore have also, come into and helped out with Metal Nights and done things with us. And, they see it too. They see the power of organ transplantation and what it can do for a person because they've witnessed it firsthand with me.
This is going to bring me to my next question. Has Metal Nights achieved its goal in raising awareness and helping hepatitis C sufferers?
Well, we're trying. I think that I know people are getting the story about me. Mm-hmm. The rest of the guys in the band are all healthy, and God bless them. They're great musicians, and they have very healthy lives. But they all know about what I went through, and it's just one of those things that comes with the territory. When you go through something like I went through, and I literally died twice on the table before I got my transplant. They had to resuscitate me twice on my wife's demands, or else I wouldn't be here. And when you get that second chance at life, you look at it and you go, wait a second. I need to do something to make a difference. And I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it'll make itself aware to me. And then all of a sudden, things started happening, and I realized, you know what? We could make a difference through the music, and we could try to get people, not only could we get them to bang their head and have fun with the music, but maybe get a story across to them, and maybe get a little message to them. And maybe, help spread the awareness. And because there's so many people out there in the world today through tattooing and drug use and blood transfusions and all these other things that have hepatitis C that don't even know it.
Oh, wow.
And it's something that, my personal thing is that I wish everybody to go and get tested and find out if they have it. And if they do, there are treatments available now that can help kill the virus and go back to your life being normal. But if you just let it go and go, that's not going to happen, as was the case in Tawn.
So when you produced The Crossing, did you find it emotionally challenging on a personal level?
It was at first, because the first song that we tackled was Miracle in Disguise. And that was the first song that we released that hit and went to the internet radio stations and then went to number one as the most requested song. That song was hard. It wasn't hard to write the lyrics to it. It was just hard to do because that was the song that I wanted to say thank you, to the donor, the donor's family, and to let people know that, you don't get not everybody gets a second chance, and you've got to be able to look at life and realize that you're alive, and we're not here for a long, long time. And I thought like everybody else before my situation happened that, oh, I got all the time in the world. But, we really don't.
No, that's so true in life. Like, everybody thinks that, things can't happen to them. You got the Wheel of Fortune spinning one day, but the next day that could come all crashing down, like within a heartbeat.
Exactly, and that's kind of what happened to me is when they told me that I had it, it didn't really click in until they sent me to a specialist who said, I give you 15 years and you'll be dead.
Mm-hmm.
When he said that, that's when it clicked. And
Right.
I went, wait a minute, and that screwed my whole world up.
Did you go through a lot of anger, like, why me?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You go through why me, you go through, God, why are you doing this to me? What have I done to you? I've tried to be a good person. Sure, I've screwed up like everybody else, but am I really that bad that you got to do this to me? You go through all these different feelings and things, and then when I really started to get sick around 2001 is when it really started to kick in. I couldn't do anything, and I ended up being in the end bedridden for like a year and a half. Couldn't even get out of bed. I couldn't walk. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I couldn't do anything. And I was in and out of the hospital. So, and then I ended up dying twice and going into a coma. So it's one of those things that, people take life for granted. And that's one of the things I wanted to get across in that song was that, you know what? We don't. And I wanted to say thank you, but I also wanted to get it across in the melody and everything else and the lyrics that, I'm alive and I survived, and that's what the miracle is. And, everybody can, you got to reach for it and you got to fight for it. And that's what I did. I fought every day from the day they told me. Mm-hmm. I was not going down without a fight.
And once you do come through it, your life changes.
Oh,
everything
in so
changes.
many ways, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys in band and Metal Nights look at me now, and I hear it all the time. They're going like, Razor, you're the most driven, you-know-what I've ever seen. And it's like, well, you guys haven't died a couple times, and
exactly.
You're not here when you shouldn't be. I go, you look at things a little different. It's like, you go for it with everything you got. And that's kind of become my motto is, life's too short to sit on your ass. You better get up and you better do things now, And so that's really a big part of Metal Nights is that I am driven and I am pushing, but I'm pushing and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, thank God. And we're starting to see that. As
a unit, has the band had any challenges in mixing, recording, and mastering The Crossing?
Actually, that went pretty smoothly. The only challenge that we really had thrown our way was a technical glitch when we were recording, I think it was The Gates of Hell. For some reason, something happened with the recording session and we lost the drum tracks after we laid them down.
Oh, wow.
And Dave Krause had to come back in and redo the drum tracks. But other than that, things went pretty smoothly. And, of course, Craig Goldie was behind the board, and he was the one engineering and producing and mixing, and he did a phenomenal job. And we just, the songs wouldn't sound like they sound if it wasn't that we had somebody of his level and his caliber and his knowledge back there really working it for us. And so, the whole sound of that EP is because of Craig.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've heard of Dio before, and they're excellent.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got this great program called Destiny Bridge, and Destiny Bridge basically is responsible for the band Benedictum.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of them, too. They're good.
He takes the untapped, unsigned talent that he sees out there, that he feels has something, and he helps polish it up and get it ready, and then has a great contact program where people, he gets you in contact with the record labels. And, somebody, like he's got on his website and it's in the press that, somebody's going to get a record contract this year. It might as well be you,
Awesome.
And he shows you the ways through his program to succeed. And since that day after he played with us at the Ton Mastery benefit, he called me and he said, you're good. And he goes, I think you have what it takes. Are you ready to go to the next level? Do you want to do this for real? And I said, absolutely. If ever, now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. And he said, okay, I'll be over in a half an hour.
Awesome.
So.
Will you continue to work with Craig Goldie in the future for your music?
Yes, we are, in fact. We're slated to go into the studio this next month in September and start recording the full-length CD. And it's got some great songs. I'm so proud of the guys in the band. Paul Calder and Billy King and Adam Emmons have contributed some great material to this album. And, Craig and I plan on still continuing our songwriting partnership and moving forward with that, too, because he feels we make a really good team, as do I. Him and I just seem to click on a different level. He likes to joke and say that he thinks that we were separated at birth. We're so close. But we get along really good, and we know how to make sure that when we sit down to write, we do it with a purpose in mind, and we know the story we're trying to tell, and it just all seems to click and work very quickly.
Now, the new medieval songs that you're currently working on at the moment, when you come up with your full-length album, will it be called The Crossing, or will it be called another name?
Oh no, it'll have another name. It's just The Crossing was, we have a lot of fans out there from all over the world that were like, we want something.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just signed with major management recently, Hunt Talent Management out of Beverly Hills, and they've been really great. Our manager Tammy Hunt is a phenomenal manager, and we were very, very lucky that we were able to get worldwide digital distribution and get the song out there for now. Get the songs out there for now from The Crossing, so that somebody could, the fans that were begging us, we want to hear, we want to buy this, we want to hear this, we want this, that we wanted to give it to them, And so, but what we've got coming has already been written, and the demos are done, and, we're in rehearsals. In fact, tonight, we have another rehearsal, and, it's just, we're polishing everything up now. We're getting ready, because when we go into the studio, we like to go in prepared, so that things go fast and they go smooth. And Craig's ready, we're ready, and we're really looking forward to it. But it will have a different name. What that name is, we're still working on.
Okay, so I understand the Brotherhood of Metal Knights has been very successful with The Crossing through the internet with the Metal Knights fan club.
Yes, it's our website, themetalknights.com.
Mm-hmm.
Does have a fan club on there that you can join, and we're just now starting to, we only, I think, put that website up just over a month ago, and it's like automatically it just started generating, a lot of interest, and people had another place besides MySpace to go. And then we started thinking about, well, let's offer the fans something. And so, 4 of us in the band work in the visual effects industry in Hollywood. And so we're pretty good with creating art. And we decided that, we could start to offer some things that probably other bands, they might offer something similar, but our artwork's going to, really kick everybody else's butt, because our people are so talented and they work on such big projects.
Mm-hmm.
So we put together, a little package that we're offering, and people have been signing up, and the first orders are getting ready to go out in about a week and a half, and we're very excited that the people will finally start to get their packages, and there's people that have put their trust and faith in this band, and we offer the ticket tracker service also on the website, so that people can sign up and they go into our database, and then if we come to your town, want to get tickets, you have priority ticket, you can get priority tickets, because anybody that has supported this band via the internet, those are the diehard fans.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the fans that can even email us through that website. All they have to do is, we call it shoot us an arrow. And, we try to keep the medieval theme going. What can I say? But, they can shoot us an arrow, and they can shoot it to any of the Metal Knights that they want. and they will get a response from that person. It's not like, it's going to go to some automated return reply thing. We read everything that comes in on our MySpace. We read everything that comes in on the website, and we like taking that hands-on approach because the music industry has changed, and it's changed drastically. And we're trying to keep up with that, and we're trying, record companies are still an integral thing, and they're very important if an artist wants to get their stuff out there to the world and get it in the stores and get the tour support so that you can go out and play around the world and do things that way, But it's also changed that bands can release their stuff now on the internet, and they can create this storm of interest around themselves, and we're aware of that too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for us in that we're taking both sides, of this. Yes, we are seeking out label representation, but we also, and during the same time, we want to appease those of the fans like in Italy and Spain and Germany and Sweden and the Netherlands and Canada and Japan that send us emails all the time going, please, when are you guys coming over here? And it's just, we want to try to give them something until that can happen. We're just trying to give them something and saying, here, we can offer you this, and more's coming, and hopefully, we've had a couple record offers, and we're looking at, we're looking at them. We're waiting for the right one to come through.
That's what I was going to ask
going
you.
on right now,
when you say you're looking for the right one, what are you looking for in a record label?
We're looking for the proper support. We're looking for someone that can help us really take this whole thing that we've started, this crusade to try to, bring back that great British sound of heavy metal, bring it back to a level and a scale that we think it should be at now. I mean, heavy metal is definitely making a big resurgence right now, and there's all these new subgenres of metal, but that classic British metal sound, kind of like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, Saxon, and Motorhead, and some of those bands, and all the bands from the new wave of British heavy metal. A lot of them, the new stuff that's coming out doesn't really have that influence there. There are a couple bands that I've heard that I'm very impressed with that do have it, and they're succeeding. And our goal here in the United States was, we need to do something here, and we need to do it, and we need to do it now, because now is the time. And so we've just, we want to get a label that will back us up, and give us the support that we need to go out and tour, and who will, of course, distribute our music, and just the right label that will support this and push it, full force the way we want to. I mean, up until now, we've done everything on our own, out of our own pockets. We're getting ready to shoot a high-definition video that's going to be ready for television. I mean, it's that, we have that kind of support behind us, that we've got people that are interested in the band that are willing to just, here, what do you need? You guys need to be seen. You need to be heard. Let us help you. And we're very blessed and lucky in that aspect. And we, now it's just trying to find the right labels to see the same thing.
What are some of the highlights to Metal Night's high-definition video, Death to Fire, that's in pre-production currently? And where on location will it be filmed?
Well, it's going to be filmed at a studio up in North Hollywood that is a lot of the big bands have shot their videos at. I think I was up there not long ago with Craig and Rudy Sarzo and Simon Wright, and I heard that Def Leppard had just been in there and shot their latest video there. So it's a place called Mates, and it's all the big heavyweights go there to rehearse or to get ready to do their concert tours, and they have a gigantic stage set there that is virtually a concert stage, so that the bands can either do a video there or they can also use it to prepare for their tours. And so we're going to be shooting it there. Some of the highlights will be, of course, the live performance of Metal Nights, and you'll get to see that. the story that's kind of interwoven into Death Defier is basically the fact that, that name for that song actually came from Craig Goldie. Mm-hmm. He actually looked at me one day and he said, Razor, you are the Death Defier. And I said, we both looked at each other and went, like song name, that we got a name, that's got to be a song, because it's just such a heavy metal name. And we started thinking about it, and we started writing it. And when I was thinking about the lyrics, as I was writing the lyrics, I was thinking, well, if I'm the Death Defier, then I've got angels sitting on me. So expect to see some angels in the video.
So can us Crusaders expect to see 3D cool Metal Knights effects, medieval effects in the video?
Yeah, we're hoping to.
Awesome.
We have all the gear to do that at the studio, and we have some very talented people in the band. And so I'm hoping that we can make this as visually stunning as possible and kind of blow people away on what can be done on the independent level right now if you put, with just a little bit of talent on certain things. If you put that mix of talent to the music, I think the visuals will just be stunning. And it was very interesting. I just went to the it's kind of the NAMM show for the Visual Effects Society. It's called SIGGRAPH. And I went with Rudy Sarzo. And Rudy gave a great speech on the merging of visual effects and 3D animation with the music industry now. And he really nailed it in what, how the independent artists nowadays can do this. They can do it themselves, and it's not that hard. And for somebody like myself who's been in the visual effects industry for 16 years, it's something that I feel, coupled with the guys I work with, that we could put together something very visually stunning, and that's what we're hoping to do.
Will you continue to produce more Metal Knights medieval music videos from The Crossing in the future?
I would personally, I'd love to be able to do all 3 songs, but, I don't know if we're going to be able to, because we've got so much going on with getting ready to record the new stuff. We're getting ready to play out live. We're getting ready to, for that concert in January. There's so much happening, but, and there's another reason that a record company helps, because, they can take over a lot of that hassle and the problem and the scheduling and all that stuff that up until now, myself and the members of the band and management and our PR director, these people have been helping handle all this, and we've just been scrambling around trying to get everything done. Whereas you have an organization that comes in like a label who have, divisions within the label to just handle that, So that's another reason a label is important. And if time and money is allotted, I would love to do that, and I'd love to do Gates of Hell and really do it up big and have Craig come in, because he plays on that song. He does the lead solo on that song, and I would love to be able to bring him in and just be in that video. That would be like a dream video to do for us.
Oh, for sure. Has Metal Knights had any journeys around the world to promote The Crossing yet?
Not yet. We're getting ready to, we've done shows here and there, but we're getting ready to start playing out. In fact, I just talked to management about that the other day, and some things are being put in the works. So as soon as we can make those announcements, we will. With
your current Knights, Razor on vocals, Paul Calder and Billy King on lead guitars, Danik Thomas on bass, Adam Emmons on keyboards, and Dave Kress on drums. And when did the Metal Knights Brotherhood begin playing together?
Well, it was actually Metal Knights formed in, I would say, February of 2007, February, March, somewhere around there. And it was, there'd been a lot of different people come through the band for a while. And then all of a sudden, Rudy Sarzo actually introduced me to the drummer, Dave Krause, a couple years ago. And we had become friends, here and there. We'd run into each other all the time. And Dave had mentioned to me, hey, Razor, if you hear of anybody that needs a drummer, I'm ready to, I want to start playing again. And Rudy had always told me what a great drummer he was. And so it was like at that point that I thought to myself, our old drummer had decided that he wanted to go a different way, and I said, Dave, I got to call that talented, and he's young. He's 26, and he knows his stuff. I mean, his music composition skills, his music theory skills. He's a music teacher. You know, I mean, and he loves composing and playing. And he's one of the most wildest people behind the keyboards I've ever seen. Wow. So, you know, it's just it's great that, you know, like you're calling it the Brotherhood of the Knights. You know, it's great that that's what it is. I mean, there's never any arguing in this group of people. There's never any, you know, complaining or moaning. It's just everybody gets along so good. I've never been in a band that there hasn't been any bitching and moaning. And it's just so great to be in, like, what feels like a family.
So everybody drinks out of the same chalice, I take it, and celebrates.
Absolutely.
That's the way it should
be.
be.
Sunday night at rehearsal.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
One happy family.
That's right.
For sure. What are your live performances like, and do you wear Full Metal Knights armor at your live shows?
Well, no, I'm afraid not. The leather itself gets heavy enough. You know, it would be quite the spectacle, though.
Oh, for sure.
Do that. But I think we'd be probably laughed right off the stage unless it looked really killer. But no, well, you know, we go on stage and it's a rocking show. It's definitely a rocking show, and we're a very live band. We're not afraid of our audience. You know, we embrace them. We feed off of them. You know, once we hit the stage, it's like becoming an energy vampire, you know, and you feed off that energy of the audience. Mm-hmm. And there's no bigger ham in the band than me, myself. You know, I get up there and I talk to the crowd and I get them involved, and I want them to enjoy, you know, they're paying their money to see the show. They deserve a show.
Right.
So that's what we try to give them. And it's, you know, our outfits that we wear, you know, were your standard. You know, if you were to look back at bands from the early 80s British metal movement, you know, we're kind of like that on stage, you know. And I think if you go to our website, you'll see a lot of the photos that the great rock photographer Niels Lozauer did of us. And that's kind of our look, you know. The armor stuff would just get way too heavy, and then I don't know about the other guys, but I'd pass out.
Okay. Can Crusaders purchase Meta Knights merchandise at your live performances?
Yes, in fact, we are working right now on a lot of new merchandise. We've got 3 new T-shirts coming that have our on the front. You've got one with the logo, and then you've got on the back our new saying, which is "It's time to make metal medieval again." Mm-hmm. And then we've got one of Sir Godfrey, who is our mascot that we've created. He is the Metal Knight. And if people go to our MySpace page, you know, you're going to see that you know, it hits you right in the face the minute you open it up. There's Sir Godfrey throwing the horns at you, and he's a 3D character that we created. That, you know, we just feel that he is the embodiment. You know, Iron Maiden has Eddie, so has Murray. We felt that Metal Knights needed somebody to kind of represent for us, and Sir Godfrey has become it. And so that's another part of the merchandise that people can get. And then there's a third one, T-shirt that is also, it's just basically got one of the pictures that Neil took of us, and it's got the question "Got Metal" underneath it. And then on the back, everything on the back is, you know, it's time to make metal medieval again. And so that, and then of course there's posters, and there's the fan club, and there's all these things, and they'll be able to get all that stuff at the shows.
That's awesome. While visiting your MySpace page, 2 songs immediately stood out and became favorites: "The Gates of Hell" and "Miracle in Disguise," along with "Death to Fire." Where can Crusaders request these tracks on radio?
Well, any radio station, really. We're hooked up with a great service called Airplay Direct, which allows real radio stations, be they internet or terrestrial or satellite, to download our music at CD quality and then add it to their rotation. So it's just a matter of you calling your favorite radio station and saying, "I want to hear Metal Knights, I want to hear this, I want to hear that," you know. But right now, I know that we are in online in heavy rotation on stations like Hard Rock Radio Live and Metal Messiah Radio and Wildside Radio, Smokin' Tunes Radio. God, there's such a long laundry list. I'd have to log into my AirPlay Direct account to show you everything. But,
wow.
I think the tally is somewhere close to 100 stations around the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, but people don't have to just rely on that. They can call their real radio station, their favorite radio station that plays rock.
Mm-hmm.
Say, there's a band out there, Metal Nights, we want to hear it. We want to hear Death Defy, or we want to hear Gates of Hell, or we want to hear Miracle in Disguise,
okay.
And they can get it, that we make it very easily accessible for them to get it.
Awesome. That's good to know. So if we request it in Canada, they can get it easily.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure that if you haven't got them already, you'll get them.
Okay, sweet. Is heavy metal becoming popular in the music scene in California?
Yes, it is, and it's not just in California, but it's the world. Okay. And we've taken, we do a lot of research, and I spend a lot of time taking a wide look at what's going on right now, because I was there in the 80s with a band called Battle Axe on the Sunset Strip when everything was going off back then. Mm-hmm. And I remember what it was like back then, and I take a look at and I compare it to what it was then and what it is now. Now, we didn't have the internet back then.
No.
We didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have everything we have now today. We didn't have computers. I mean, we had computers, but nobody really had them. So things have really, really changed as far as the music industry goes. And so I kind of step back and take a really broad look at that, as do the other guys in the band. And we kind of look at this as the grand scheme, and we say, there's like this 20-year cycle going on right now. And people are really, the whole metal movement is starting to come back. I see little kids running around now with Iron Maiden and Judas Priest.
Oh, yes.
Get that T-shirts on. And I have to actually go up to them and I have to say, hey, wait a minute. You're 9 years old. You even know who that is? And they're like, oh my God, I'm the biggest Megadeth fan. And it's like, okay, it's happening again.
And Robbie, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of kids walking around buying, going to thrift stores and buying up vinyl records that are Pink Floyd.
Right, I know.
Old Metal Masters.
It's an incredible resurgence that's happening, and it's not just here in California. I think it's a global phenomenon.
I believe
it. I think it's only going to continue to get bigger. The advent of the Internet and the ease of the Internet now at marketing oneself, the advent of MySpace and Facebook and all these social networking sites, and one of our favorites is MyStage Music, because they took to us right away, and we became like the #1 band on MyStage Metal, which is one of their categories they have on MyStage Music. And, it just, these social networking sites are making it so easy for these bands to get their music played and get it heard and start their own little thing. And, we've got this full-on crusade going on, like what we like to call it, because, it's just like, we feel we're a very marketable band. We think we've got a good image, and our music speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. It's pure, unadulterated heavy metal, and it tells a story. And, it's got all the elements that make up good heavy metal, and that's what we're all about.
So when you say the music industry is changing, what's your prediction of the music industry within the next 5 years? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, that's a really good question. It's changed so much, hasn't it? I mean, mm-hmm. It's gotten to a point where I think the independent thing is going to continue to grow. I think the record labels are going to still exist in one form or another. I think there's still going to be 5 or 6 left standing. And I think that the independent labels, though, are going to start seeing more and more things come to them offer-wise. In other words, there's independent bands out there now that can get distribution and can get their songs out, but pay for it. They got to do it. They got to do everything. I think you're going to start seeing more of where the indie scene grows and gets bigger, and people start to cough up money to help bands, and the tour support starts to become part of the package. package deal, and ultimately it really turns out to be a benefit for some of the bands, because as an independent artist, you get to retain more of your rights. There are some there I know of now that they're doing everything on their own. They're retaining of everything that they put out because they're putting everything to it. They're not giving it to anybody. They're managing them themselves. They're promoting themselves. They're doing everything themselves. So why should they give any of that away? And I thought somebody is going to be smart enough to come along, and I think it's already happening, and it's going to be changed. It's going to start to the indie scene is going to get bigger. And I think I've heard stories of one of the major labels trying to put an axe into the indie movement, but it's too big now. If you just all you have to do is go to MySpace and look. I mean, it's just independent music is everywhere, and the bands are garnering thousands and thousands of fans, and it's just building itself up very big and very fast. So I think that's really where it's going to go. It's going to become an industry where, record labels are still going to be there because they're necessary. And we in Metal Knights understand that for a record label to actually take a look at a band like us, the first thing that a record label is in business for is to be in business. And they have to pay off their bills, and once they meet their bills and they pay all their bills, then they have time to look at new artists. They have the money, they have the time, and then they can start signing new artists. But, it's all a business, and people have to remember that, and that's one of the things that we do remember, and that's why, we do look at the labels. There's some bands out there that hate the labels, but we look at the labels as, there's a reason they're there. And if you're treated fair by them, if you land the right deal and you're treated fair by them, then it's a win-win for both sides, Especially if the caliber of the music's there, the image is there, the whole package deal is there, and that's what we're trying to do with Metal Knights.
Okay, before we wrap up our interview, can you tell us where Crusaders can access Metal Knights medieval music to buy the Crossing and Metal Knights merchandise online?
Yeah, we're on iTunes worldwide. So whatever country you're in, just go to your iTunes. And then we're also on Amazon.com. We're on Rhapsody, Napster, eMusic, or eTunes. There's so many I've lost count. So really, but to get to a lot of that, all you need to do is go to our website, which is www.themetalknight.com. And once you get there, enter that site, and you'll be hit right square in the eyes with the Crossing and links to where you can go buy it.
When will a Metal Knights journey to Canada?
Oh, we'd love to come to Canada. We're just waiting for a promoter to say, come up. So, when that happens, the promoters are starting to come to us now and ask us to play these big gigs, but one of the places I've always wanted to go back to is Canada. I used to live in Alaska for a while, so I had to pass through Canada, and I loved it up there, and I think it's a great territory, and I know the metal scene is gigantic there, and I think the people in Canada would just get a real big kick out of it for them, and the music, and so, I'd have to talk to our management, and she'd have to talk to our booking people, and we'd have to find out what we can do, but it's definitely on the baz as everywhere else that we can go.
Awesome. Look forward to having you here someday and seeing you in concert.
Well, that'll be a big definite, and you're definitely invited backstage. I know that much.
We're in the Toronto area.
Oh, well, then we'll just have to play Toronto, won't we?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it would definitely be a great thing, and we're just looking, once we can hook up with the right promoter that wants to bring us up there and let us play, we're there.
Okay. Thank you for allowing our E-Sign to interview Metal Knights. It was an honor. You rock.
Hey, no problem. Thank you so much for your interest in the band and for doing the interview, and just know that, we support HMTV, and we support you, and we support the people in Canada, and we just, we love everybody, and we're out to bring the great metal sound that seems to have been missing for a while back, and throw a new spin on it, and come out and kick everybody's butt with it, and good time.
I look forward to your video coming out, and I'm definitely going to buy one of your CDs.
Well, thank you very much, and we appreciate that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, you take care.
You too.